Thank you, Carly, for reminding me. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and restart since I just did that. So sorry, y'all. Well, welcome today. My name is Madison. I am a career advisor here with ASU. And today we're going to be talking about building your resume, building your future, crafting a health and wellness resume that stands out. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the elements of an application, how to prepare your application, resumes, and cover letters. So we'll go ahead and get into the details of what an application typically includes. So for job applications, you'll typically need a resume, a cover letter, and sometimes you'll need a school transcript, very much depending on the position, if it's an internship, but very much depending, they should have listed out on the job description what aspects they're asking for on the application. So we'll go ahead and dive into the specifics of preparing your application. So of course, you want to make sure to review the position description. So like I was just saying a little bit before, you want to understand what the employer is seeking and how your experiences and goals align with the job requirement. Next, and you'll hear me say this a lot, is tailor your materials. So you want to try your best to incorporate keywords and phrases from the job description into your resume and cover letter. Something that I talk to students about all the time is utilizing ChatGPT to help you out with that. And you can simply do that by copying and pasting the job description, asking it for the keywords that are in this job description, and then trying your best to incorporate some of those keywords into your bullet points directly. And then, of course, you want to make sure to follow the application instructions. Every application, every company is different with how they handle applications. So ensure you submit all of your required materials correctly and on time, of course. Awesome. And then employers seek candidates who are career ready. So meaning you possess these 8 career competencies identified by NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So you can see here, career and self-development, communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, technology. So you want to try your best to translate your academic and co-curricular activities into these competencies using industry language. And we'll kind of get a little bit more in detail with how you can do that. And we'll go ahead and dive a little bit more into the details of a resume. So the first and most common application material that employers will request is your resume. So we'll go ahead and dive a little bit deeper. So what is your resume? Your resume is truly your first introduction and impression to the hiring committee. So all resumes should be formatted in a simple and easy to read format. I've actually recently heard from a good amount of employers that boring is beautiful. So that's actually what they look for on your resume. So I know sometimes it might look boring, but I always say simple, easy to read, good to go. You want to make sure to maintain professional language and ensure that there are no grammar or spelling errors in your documents. You want to make sure to ensure that your information is listed in reverse chronological order, meaning the most recent information is listed towards the top. And you always want to make sure that you read the position description carefully so that you present your qualifications accordingly. Kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So formatting your document. The format of your resume is very important. You want to make sure that it is clean and visually appealing. So we encourage you guys to avoid using online or word processor templates for your resume. Main reason for that is because different programs employers use to scan, such as the application tracking system or ATS for short, sometimes using a specific formatting that maybe Word gave to you, ATS can mess that up. So it could potentially displace your information. So that's why we really recommend using like a blank Word document or one of the examples that we have on our site that really just makes sure that it's simple and ATS proof. You also want to make sure that your resume is black and white, single spaced, and then margins, you want to keep them to 0.5 to 1 inch margins. You want to eliminate as much white space as possible. And then you want to ensure that your font is easy to read. So I would just always stick to one of those simple ones, Arial Times New Roman. And then you also want to make sure that your name stands out. So we typically say 14, 16, 18 point size font for your name, and then the rest of your resume can be 10, 11, 12. So keep that in mind when you are formatting your resume. Awesome. So when creating your resume, it is best practice to always start with a blank Word document or Google document. As I stated earlier, avoid using a template because it's challenging to edit when you gain more experience and opportunities. So remember to update your resume regularly because opportunities can arise unexpectedly, and you always want to make sure to include these key sections. So contact information, your education, and then as well as your experience and how it relates to the position. So the first content to list on your resume is going to be your contact information. So be sure to include your first and last name, your phone number that has an appropriate voicemail box, and an appropriate email address. Your ASU email address is perfect for that. You may also include your street address if you would like to, but that is no longer a requirement on resumes. Physical addresses were necessary in the past more so, but email and phone are what people typically utilize now. So that is really all you got to put in that contact section of your resume. I tell students if you do want to put your address, city and state is really all you got to do for that. We also recommend including your LinkedIn URL, as you can see there. And those are the main sections that we recommend for your contact information. So this is where you guys can get involved. And if you would either like to write in the chat or unmute yourself, I would like to ask everybody, what do you notice here that is incorrect, or what are we missing based off of just some of the things that we went through?
The name doesn't really stand out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yes, name doesn't stand out. And then we are also missing his last name, which I would say is probably a really important part. So we want to make sure to include that first and last name. It also looks like a different font potentially. So you want to make sure that it's consistent, beautiful. Does anybody else notice anything? The email is not professional. Perfect. So yeah, it says I'm the best at gmail.com. So maybe if we switched it over to his ASU email, it'd be a little bit more professional. So perfect. And then there's a few more things. If anybody else notices anything. And so like I was talking about with that full address, oh, Jasmine just put it in. So only the city and state names are needed on the address line, exactly what I was just going to talk about. So yeah, we could remove that second and third line and just keep Tempe, Arizona. And then as you can see in his phone number, he forgot to leave out the area code. So obviously that's a pretty important thing that I would say most people don't forget to leave out, but just to keep that in mind. And then lastly, I actually didn't talk about this, is the LinkedIn URL. As you can see here, it is pretty long. So on LinkedIn, you can actually directly edit your LinkedIn URL on your profile. So definitely keep that in mind. You can easily shorten it, and I would highly recommend that you all do that for your resumes. Awesome. Perfect. And then the second section to include on your resume is going to be your education section. So here's an example of the necessary information to include when formatting your education section. So you want to keep in mind that you want to, of course, make sure to include your degree. You want to go ahead and make sure to spell it out correctly. So as you can see here, Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. We recommend avoiding abbreviations as much as possible. So instead of putting BS, just write out Bachelor's of Science. And then we also recommend bolding that degree. As you can see in this example here, that really is the big thing that you're wanting to highlight, is that bachelor's degree that you just received. So that's why we recommend bolding it. Always make sure to list your degree first. I would say that a lot of people put ASU first, but your degree is what you want to put first, as you can see in the example there. And then after listing your major, you will then list your school. You can also list your minor if you would like, city and state. And then you could also include a few additional things. So like I said, your minor, you don't necessarily have to put that on, but you can if you would like to. Your honors college information. So if you are part of Barrett, your GPA, we always recommend that you put your GPA out of the scale that it is scored out of. So for everybody, it would be a 4.0. So as you can see the example there. And then also the date that you are predicted or set up to graduate as well. You can, as well as Dean's List, any other academic achievements, as you can see in the examples here, you can just list out the semesters that you received Dean's List or anything else like that. Awesome. So the third section of your resume should be where you list your experiences. So when listing and explaining any experiences, it's best to use the format on this slide and always include your position title, the name of the organization that you worked with, the location of the organization, so city and state, And the dates that you worked there at the organization aligned on the right side of the page is what we recommend. And then, of course, accomplishment statements. So we at ASU call bullet points accomplishment statements. So you will hear me refer to that a few times. So you want to make sure to list these on your resume by using bullet points, which we will discuss a little bit further in a few slides. So depending on your unique background, there are additional sections that you may highlight on your qualifications. So these are just some additional things that you can include. So relevant courses. We typically recommend about 4 to 6 relevant courses for the position that you're applying for. We also recommend that these typically are upper division courses. So keep that in mind. If you do end up listing some relevant courses, also highly recommend adding community involvement, volunteer work, professional or student organizations, any course projects, research, also a skills section, as well as certifications and license. So if you have your CPR, first aid, you want to make sure to for sure list that on your resume in a certification section. And you can as well list your expiration date on the right side, just aligning with all of those additional dates. Awesome. So regardless of what else you would like to include in your resume, formatting your experiences is incredibly important. And we suggest that you explain your experiences by using accomplishment statements. So accomplishment statements communicate what you have accomplished, the skills that you've developed, and the outcome of any project or tasks you are responsible for. So all accomplishment statements should include an action verb, the subject line that explains the project or task, and an outcome or result. So when possible, we highly encourage you to use numbers to quantify any information that you can. That is just something that employers really do like to see on your resume. So if you do have any way to do that, we definitely recommend that. So on this slide, we have listed some potential experiences that do not utilize the accomplishment statement format that we just reviewed. So this is a really good way to start out your resume and to start off accomplishment statements just by listing your general primary tasks. If you are in a pool of similarly skilled candidates, these bullet points will not stand out. So that's why we recommend using the format we just talked about. So many people have done these similar tasks, and once again, it's just not really having you stand out. So as you can go ahead and see in this example, this is what bullet points could look like after implementing the recommended accomplishment statement format. So these communicate that you have achieved results and that you have developed career competencies necessary for the position that you're applying for. So you want to make sure to start with an action verb. If you are currently in the position, use past tense. If you're currently in the position, use present tense, if not past tense. Then talk about your project, what you did, and then finish with that result. A reminder, accomplishment statements are not copied and pasted from your job description. You want to make sure to add results to all of those. And in the next few slides, I really just wanted to show you all a lot of examples and how you can talk about those transferable skills and put them on your resume to potentially relate them to any health and wellness positions that you guys are all looking into. So you can see that I highlighted all of the transferable skills. Once again, kind of going back to what we were talking about with career competencies, is that employers are looking that you have those transferable skills. So as you can see here, communication, customer satisfaction, teamwork, all those sort of things that I have highlighted here, those are transferable skills that you can 1000% translate over to different positions. So I really wanted to show you guys that any position, no matter what you've done. So this is a Starbucks example. This one right here is if you were a crew member at Target. So I know a lot of students typically think, well, it's not related to the field I'm hoping to go into. I don't want to list it on my resume. I would very much discourage you not to list it on your resume. I would say that any experience can be related to pretty much anything. You really just got to word it correctly. And yeah, if you guys would like to take any like screenshots, you are more than welcome to. I really just wanted to highlight that transferable skills truly are for every sort of position. I do also have some examples if you were a teacher's assistant potentially. So these are just some additional ways that you can show those transferable skills. So just really wanted to highlight those to you all and really wanted to just kind of shift that focus and make sure that we are listing all of those experiences on our resume, even if we don't necessarily think they are super relevant to the industry we're going in. There are still ways to talk about those transferable skills to show the employers that you do have those team working skills. You are able to collaborate with other people, you can communicate, etc. Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about job shadowing. So shadowing is an experiential learning opportunity where you follow one or more professional within a company or organization for a short period of time. This allows you to observe your daily responsibilities and routines firsthand. Through job shadowing, you gain a real life hands-on understanding of what it's like to work in that specific industry, helping you explore career options and clarifying your interests. So Career Services actually has recently started to offer students job shadowing opportunities. So as you can see here, this kind of gives you the breakdown on how to find these opportunities. We are kind of in a weird spot right now in the semester that there might not be any left for this semester, but continue to check for the spring semester because we're trying to do even more job shadowing opportunities. But just really wanted to highlight this to everybody and to let you know that there are opportunities out there. I also wanted to share with you as well, because I know a lot of students will be like, okay, I went to this job shadowing, now what do I do? So I wanted to show you all how you could actually put this on your resume directly. So this shows exactly how you could format it. So you could list this as a job shadowing experience, as you see right there, the location that you shadowed at, and then what you observed, what you did at that shadowing opportunity. And these are really important and helpful opportunities for you to guys get involved in. And once again, resume builders. So definitely make sure you guys are taking advantage of all the opportunities that Career Services is putting on, as well as just maybe your professors and stuff like that. Attending just any of this stuff is really going to help benefit you. And like I said, help you find that career in the path in the future. Awesome. So the hot zone is the top section of your resume. So this is one of the most important sections to format correctly. So that's kind of why we focused on it a lot earlier. Recruiters typically spend about 10 to 20 seconds looking at your resume. I know people hear that and they're like, that's insane. I agree. But that is why you want to make sure that everything's formatted correctly and that they don't have to necessarily do like a double take. So you want to make sure that your most important information is on your resume. So your name, contact information, and education. And that is why we encourage that those all be towards the top of your resume. So definitely keep that in mind. And you can kind of customize it accordingly. And then, like I said, I just wanted to quickly talk a few things about cover letters today. So what is a cover letter? A cover letter is a formal letter set alongside a resume. Its purpose is to elaborate on the information contained in the resume. So unlike a resume, a cover letter allows you to introduce yourself to the hiring manager, providing additional context for your achievements, qualifications, and explain your motivation for joining the company. You should write your cover letter in business letter format. As you can see, there's a QR code that should bring you to our examples right there. And we typically say keep your cover letter on the shorter end, so 3 to 4 paragraphs, really highlighting your qualifications. Here's what you want to include in your cover letter. So in your opening paragraph, you want to go ahead and make sure to state your cover letter with a warm greeting. So my favorite is just Dear Hiring Manager. If you do have the name, you can put the direct hiring manager's name in there as well to make it a little bit more personalized. You want to make sure to use your first paragraph as your hook to introduce yourself. So briefly highlight why you are an excellent fit for this job. Second paragraph, you want to shift your focus to the employer. So demonstrating that you understand their needs. So explain why you are a great fit for both the position and the organization, showing that you've done a little bit of research. I always encourage students to just very quickly go on the company's website, look at their mission statement, try to incorporate that into your cover letter and show that you have a passion for that personally, or why you feel connected to that company specifically. In the third paragraph, you want to go ahead and make sure you highlight your specific skills and experiences that make you a strong candidate. And then in that closing paragraph, you want to make sure to summarize your qualifications, reiterate why you're the best candidate. Then I always encourage students to end with a call to action. So encouraging the hiring manager to take the next steps, such as inviting you for an interview. And you'll see some of those examples. Once again, if you guys would like to scan that QR code, it should take you to all those cover letter examples that we do have. Awesome. And then lastly, of course, you want to make sure you proofread all of your materials. So this is the case for resumes, cover letters. So you can utilize one of the checklists that we have on our resume with that QR code right there. You just want to make sure that you check, of course, for grammar and spelling, as we've talked about a few times, making sure you're best to include those key phrases and words that are listed on that job description. And then, of course, have someone else review it. So whether that be your mom, your sister, one of us, having somebody else's eyes on your resume can really be helpful, because sometimes we become immune to seeing some mistakes on our own materials. So getting somebody else involved will definitely be a beneficial thing for you. And then I did also want to highlight just some resources that we do have and that are all available to use. So we have a resource called VMock. This is a 24/7 online resume review tool available to all ASU students. So this platform utilizes advanced technologies, including data science, machine learning, and natural language processing to provide immediate personalized feedback on resumes. It's an AI resume evaluation tool. So that is something that is super, super helpful. It gives you a score on your resume and then also gives you tips and tricks on how best to improve it. So definitely make sure that you keep that in mind, that this is available to all students. And that is all I have for you guys. Thank you all so much for attending today. On this slide, you will see a list of our services. I encourage you to visit our websites for more information and more resources. And really appreciate y'all stopping by. If you guys do have a couple of seconds to quickly take this survey for me, I would really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Madison Hagerton. I am a career advisor here with ASU, and I really appreciate you guys attending. If anyone has any questions for me, I will be sticking around. But yeah, thank you all so much for attending. I hope you guys have a good weekend.
Hi, Madison. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How would you recommend including church missions on a resume?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna stop the recording really quickly and